Yo, what is going on, guys? This is Jack, or Pro Hybrid, the coach of the Toronto Talonflames, welcoming you guys to Season 3 of the Showdown Battle League. Today, I'm going to be bringing you guys my draft analysis video where I'm going to be going over my own draft, talking about my thought process throughout my picks, looking at my team as a whole and how it synergizes and all that. I'm not going to be focusing on other people's drafts. If you go to the main Showdown Battle League channel, we're going to be doing a video for each team where a bunch of people, including myself, will be talking about every team, giving our thoughts on it, giving it a rating, kind of like what we did last season. But today, I'm just going to be talking about my team and the overall drafting process, because the draft's my favorite part of the season, honestly. So, yeah, let's get into this right now. Alright, so I'm going to be starting off by talking about my first pick. For the past 2 seasons, I've been always in the middle of the drafting order, so it's been pretty balanced. Like, there's an even waiting time between all my picks, whereas this season I actually had the first pick overall, which is pretty exciting. But the thing about this, and also the fact that we have 16 teams this season, is after every pick I make, whether it's 1 pick or 2 picks in rounds after round 1, there's 30 Pokemon that are going to be taken between my picks. So, looking at the first overall pick, I had a couple of draft plans going into the draft where I had some like ideas of mons that I wanted to draft, but once I knew I had the first pick, I could guarantee 1 Pokemon because I wasn't franchising anything, and I wanted to figure out like what was that Pokemon gonna be, and I decided to go for my Mega pick right off the first round. I did this in Season 1, not in Season 2, and I don't think I had to do this. I obviously could have gone a pick that wasn't my Mega, but I figured it'd be a good thing to build for my team, so something I can build around, but it's also going to be a good Pokemon to use. I decided to go for Mega Lopunny. Simply put, I think Mega Lopunny, like, it's already like a really good Pokemon in OU, but in the Draft League format, I think Mega Lopunny is just insanely good. It's like, it's very good at what it does, being just like, has an unresisted stab combination with stab priority, but it's also got such a good move pool with things like the elemental punches and power up punch, and also so many cool utility moves, things like baton pass or cosmic power, thunder wave, heal belt. Like, it's got so many options you can do with it. It's actually surprisingly versatile, but above all else, it's just very fast and it hits very hard. Like, it's a Pokemon that's not necessarily, like, it does have some versatile options, but it's not necessarily the most versatile Pokemon. But what it does very well, which is really just punch holes in teams. You know, it can be a very safe lead because you can always get that fake out, that guaranteed Mega. It's very fast, which means you know your opponent's probably going to end up bringing Scarfers to deal with it. So it becomes kind of easy when you know your opponent, you know how they're going to have to team build to deal with Mega Lopunny. They're probably going to have some Scarfers to deal with it. So I feel like Mega Lopunny is just a very good offensive threat, and I wanted to have one really good, powerful, like, sweeper or cleaner that I can have on my team that I know is going to be like really good in the league format. In Season 1, it was tied overall for being MVP. It has, like, in the GBA, it won Season 4, and it was on the finals for Season 5. It's always just done really well in league format, always been, like very good in the MVP race, so I figured it'd be a good Pokemon to draft. I also have a lot of experience using it in OU. I've used it a decent amount, so it's not something it's going to take me a while to get used to. I'm going to be able to start using it right away without any issues, so I'm really looking forward to using Mega Lopunny this season. So like I said, after round 1, there are 30 picks that go before my next set of picks, so a lot of good things are going to be taken in those 30 picks. And going into the draft, one of the plans I had was a Fairy Dragon Steel core consisting of Sylveon, Hydreigon, and Skarmory. I felt that core would be like really good. Like, obviously that's a very good, Fairy Dragon Steel core is a very good, and I figured all 3 of those would be good picks that go. So I wanted to get like 2 of those for my rounds 2 and 3 picks. But unfortunately, in like those set of 30 picks, all 3 were taken. So quite a few snipes that round, and after that, I kind of had to go back to the drawing board and sort of look at what was available and what I wanted to draft in my next 2 picks. Because after round 1, I got 2 picks for every time the draft came back to me. So I was looking at the board and I was trying to figure out what I wanted to take. And that's when I noticed that there was one Pokemon that I was certain was going to go drafted in those 30 picks that did not. It was still available when it got back to me. And I was very surprised to see it there, but once I knew it was available, I knew I had to get it. I couldn't miss the opportunity to get this Pokemon, and that was Victini. Victini in the Draft League format is so incredibly good. It's base 100 stats all around, so it's got pretty good speed, pretty good bulk, and also pretty good physical and special attack stats, and also very, very good move pool. Tons of options. Like, it hits very hard to decreate. With some other coverage options like Focus Blast, Bolt Strike, Thunder. It's like tons of options. It's got a very good move pool. Also lots of support options it has too. Like it has like things like Will-O-Wisp and Thunder Wave and Taunt and good options like that. Like it's so versatile and like so powerful too. Like it's just a very, very good Pokemon. It can hit really hard, and it's very tough to prep for because it can do quite a few different things. Like its Banded V-Create set can like destroy teams that don't have good answers for it, but it can also be mixed. It can be special, you know, you can throw a berry on it. It can be Scarf with U-Turn. Like it's just a very, very powerful Pokemon, and it's very tough to prep for. So I was really excited for the opportunity to get Victini. I couldn't miss out on the chance to get it, and also like I think there's quite a few fire Pokemon out there, but I figured Victini was like one of the best that I could get. So I did not miss the chance to get Victini, and then it came to my round 3 pick. And after Sylveon was taken, I knew I wanted a fairy. 100% I needed a good fairy, and the pool of good fairies is pretty limited in my opinion. Like in OU, there's Clefable and Sylveon, like unless you're getting a Mega Fairy, but I already had Mega Lopunny, so I couldn't do that. And in OU, Clefable was a franchise before the draft, so that wasn't an option. Sylveon was taken, which was my pick. And then in UU, like there are a couple cool options, like there's Gardevoir, regular Gardevoir, which I think would be really cool, but it's not that bulky, and the same thing with Whimsicott. And then RU, there's things like Granbull and Aromatisse, but there's one really good fairy that was left, and I knew it wasn't going to make it back to me unless I picked it up in round 3, so I couldn't miss out the chance to get it, and that was Florges. Florges is just a really bulky Pokemon. It has like something like base 154 special defense, it's an insanely good special wall with reliable recovery and synthesis, but also has Wish and things like Heal Bell, so it can act as a cleric for the team, which is really helpful. Pretty good move pool other than that, like things like Moonblast, Giga Drain, Psychic, like it's got a pretty solid move pool for a cleric, and it could be like an offensive calm mindset. Like it's definitely like a more straightforward Pokemon, but fairies are very good in the format. I didn't have a fairy last season, and I definitely regretted it. Like I figured, like I think fairies are just very good. They have like such a good mono type that it's very useful to have. Mega Gardevoir in Season 1 was like really good for my team. It was on the MVP race, and it was very effective Pokemon, so I definitely wanted a fairy, and Florges was the best one available at the time. And it's like compared to something like Sylveon's definitely better offensively, but I think Florges, with its reliable recovery and synthesis, it doesn't have to be Wish Protect, it can just use synthesis. And also the fact that it's such insanely good special defense, I figured it would be like a very good pick to get. I knew I wanted to build a wall core, and having a really good special wall on my team and a cleric was going to be very helpful. So going into rounds 4 and 5, I really wanted a very good physical wall to complement Florges because it's more of a special wall. Its physical defense is not as good as special defense. So one of the big plans I had going into the draft was Skarmory, but Skarmory was sniped, so I had to have a backup plan. And one of the Pokemon I was most interested in getting was Hippowdon. I have a ton of experience using Hippowdon OU, and it's an amazing physical wall with pretty good special bulk too, and it also has Stealth Rock, so I figured that would be pretty good. It has reliable recovery, so my mind was on Hippowdon, but I think the Irvine Igglybuffs picked it up midway through round 4. So after that, I had to sort of rethink about my draft again, like think about what I wanted. And Hippowdon was going to be like my premier ground type. I wasn't going to take another ground type most likely. But after Hippowdon was taken, I wanted to get another ground type, and one of the ones I wanted going into the draft that was kind of sidelined when I wanted Hippowdon, but after it was taken, it was back on sort of the spotlight, was a Nidoqueen, and it was a Pokemon I really wanted going into the draft, so I ended up taking it. I think Nidoqueen, and both Nidoqueen, Nidoking, they're pretty interchangeable. They're just so good in the league format, because with Life Orb Sheer Force, they hit very, very difficult, but they also have amazing coverage. Like, they have Earth Power, Sludge Wave, Ice Beam, Thunderbolt, Fire Blast, like Shadow Ball, Focus Blast. There's so many moves they have that it becomes very difficult to switch into them without good prediction, because not many things can wall them, because, like, they have also physical move pool, so it's something like Blissey, like you can have a superpower for that, or you can use Earthquake, you can use like, it has attacks on both physical and special side and pretty good mix stats, and Nidoqueen in particular is also very bulky, like it can be used as a wall because it has very solid overall bulk, so I like that it can go both offensive and defensive, whereas Nidoking is more offensive, so I was really interested in that. I like having Pokemon that can both be bulky but also be offensive, because it means you have more options when you're T-building. It's one of the reasons why I like Victini's pick so much, and to some extent Florges, it could be offensive if you wanted it to. And another thing I really liked about Nidoqueen, and the main reason I drafted it, was Toxic Spikes. I love Toxic Spikes. I've used them a ton in PU, and I've used them a bit in some other tiers. I just think it's such a good hazard to have. Like, I think it's really underrated. It's so useful because, like, against bulkier teams, I can wear them down, and it will wear down, like, offensive teams too. It stops people from using things like Substitute because they can, like, completely shut that down. You can't really be behind a sub if you're poisoned. It's such a very helpful hazard to have because it can really wear down teams and allow you to sort of gain the edge in a battle. And I haven't really had any hazards other than Stealth Rocks the past 2 seasons, and I've always really regretted it because I actually love hazard stacking. It's probably one of my favorite, like, balanced hazard stacking, semi-stall hazard stacking is like one of my favorite play styles to play. And especially because, like, the league format's a lot of balanced teams, and I love using hazard stacking balance. I wanted options other than Stealth Rocks. So Nidoqueen gave me both Stealth Rocks and Toxic Spikes, which was really good. I think that was a very solid pick because of that, and also the fact that it can be both bulky and it can be offensive. And I figure Nidoqueen was like a really good pick. It's very solid in the league format. And for my 5th pick, I definitely wanted like a solid physical wall. So now that Hippowdon was gone, I needed to find some sort of replacement. And I was looking at, like, I basically started searching up bulky Pokemon, looking at Pokemon with good base HP, good physical defense. And I actually discovered it was a Pokemon I was like, it was also on my mind during the drafting, like something I figured I might want to get. It was Tangrowth. And Tangrowth, like, it's definitely bulky because a lot of times you think about Tangrowth and it's Assault Vest set with like max HP, max PDEF Assault Vest, that when you look at its stats, base 100 HP and base 120 defense is honestly very good, especially when you consider without Assault Vest, it has things like Sleep Powder and Synthesis and Leech Seed, so it has like reliable recovery and other cool support moves, and also has Regenerator, so it's a very good like physical wall, as well as with Assault Vest set being very good special pivot. And it's got like very good attack stat, very good special attack stat, and really good move pool. Like, it has tons of coverage options. So Tangrowth in a way kind of replaces Hippowdon and I guess Skarmory's a nice physical wall. Like, I was gonna have other Pokemon on my team that could take physical hits, but Tangrowth is so bulky. It can be used as a pivot. It's got very cool support options. Like, I liked Mega Venusaur last season with things like Sleep Powder, although I missed a lot of them. And Tangrowth, yeah, it's just a very good Pokemon thing in the league format. Regenerator is such a good ability because you can sort of, you don't even need Synthesis. You can just switch in, take a hit, and switch out and get most or all of your health back. And it's like a very good move pool. It could be offensive. It has things like Chlorophyll if you do want to run like a Sunny Day SD set or something like that, or with Growth. So I figured Tangrowth's like a very versatile Pokemon. It could be used as a good pivot, a good wall, and it was going to be a good pick to draft. So for rounds 6 and 7, I had a couple things on my checklist that I had to get, and one of those things was a bulky water. Going into before round 6 and after my last 2 picks, I had sort of a list of bulky waters from the UU and RU tier, and I knew that even if a bunch of them were taken, at least one of them was going to make its way back to me, so I wasn't too worried about getting completely sniped on that. And one of the 2 big ones that were on my mind were Suicune and Milotic. I really couldn't decide which of the 2 I wanted though, and that was almost partially the reason why I didn't draft it in round 5 or 4, because I wasn't entirely sure which one I wanted, but I figured like they both had a couple things over the other one. Like, Milotic had reliable recovery, whereas Suicune was overall slightly bulkier. Like, Milotic was slightly faster, I think. So there are a couple of things. I think Suicune was faster, Milotic had the better special attack. I forget, honestly. But yeah, I couldn't really decide between the 2, but by the time the pick came back to me, Suicune had already been taken, as well as things like Vaporeon and a couple other stuff. So I figured Milotic was going to be the bulky water to get, and I'm actually happy I got it, because it is very bulky, it's very good. Like, bulky waters in the league format are just very good. Like, those, like, it's a very common thing you'll have for teams, because they make very good walls. Milotic could be, it's both bulky on the physical and special side, while also having Marvel, Scale, and Competitive, which are 2 really cool abilities. It has reliable recovery, because honestly, I do not like bulky waters that don't have reliable recovery. Like, I had Seismitoad in Season 1, and it was bulky, but the problem with the Pokemon that don't have reliable recovery is they get worn down very quickly, to the point where after they switch into a few hits, they're not, if you can't recover up your health, they're just gonna be dead. So having the reliable recovery, like Gastrodon did very well for me because it did have recover, and so does Milotic. And that's why I'm not too big of a fan of things like Empoleon or Tentacruel, just because they don't have that option. But Milotic, it's very bulky, like, it's pretty straightforward Pokemon. It's gonna be a solid wall. And it finally builds like a fire water grass core between Victini, Milotic, and Tangrowth, which I was really happy to get because I was trying to build that core. And then for my 7th pick, I wanted to get a rapid spinner because at this point a lot of them have been drafted and the pool was pretty thin. Yeah, all the ones in OU were gone at this point, and I could maybe get something like Hitmonchan. Like there were a couple options at NU, but I wanted a rapid spinner that also wasn't weak to rocks, which takes away a lot of the rapid spinners in NU and PU. And I wanted a rapid spinner that I figured was actually going to be a good Pokemon, like things like Sandslash. I'm really not a big fan of, and you know, there's one really good rapid spinner that was still around, which a pick I was very excited to get. Cause this thing is probably the reason why I made playoffs in season 1, because it was such an underrated Pokemon. It was the last pick I got season 1, and did very well for me. And it was Hitmontop. As I said, like Hitmontop was probably the reason I made playoffs, mainly because my team I drafted in season 1 was very very offensive. There wasn't too much bulk to it, so Hitmontop kind of had to act as my physical wall, which it's more of a support Pokemon because it doesn't have reliable recovery, but it does have Intimidate. It is pretty bulky, and it ended up just being very effective. It walled so much stuff while also providing like hazard support and rapid spin, so I can keep up things like Toxic Spikes and Stealth Rocks on my opponent's side of the field while removing it from my side. I didn't want to really draft a hazard weak team, but I did want reliable, or like I did want some ways to remove hazards. And Hitmontop, now that I have good physical walls in my team though, compared to season 1, I don't have to do like the Resto, Chesto, Intimidate set every single week. I can also bring like Technician, Hitmontop. I can use other support moves because it has such a cool move pool, tons of priority and tons of cool options. It's just a really cool Pokemon, like, and I really enjoyed using it in season 1. I'm very familiar with using it, so it's not going to take me a lot of time to get used to it. It's just going to be able to start using it right away. So it did so well for me season 1. It was probably my MVP, and I'm very excited to get it back for season 3. So looking at my final 4 picks, I still had an OU pick available as well as my 3 NU picks. For my OU pick, I knew I could wait until the last round to get it because at this point in the draft, everyone else had taken all 3 of their OU picks, and the only person who hadn't taken all 3 of their OU picks was Brian in the Boston Prelims. And I was pretty convinced he was not going to take the same thing that I was going to take. I was pretty sure he's going to go in a different direction with this draft. So I wasn't really worried about getting sniped, and even if I was, I did have a backup plan, so I wasn't really too concerned about that. So in the meantime, I was going to focus on my NU picks, and I feel like these picks are actually surprisingly important, because if you get good NU picks, like really good value picks, it really will help your team overall. Because if you get something that's kind of garbage and something that you're never going to use, you're basically playing with a 10-man team, and you're not going to get as much value out of your team as a whole. So I want to get a really solid NU picks that I knew I was going to be able to use often and rely on. And the first one I got was Mesprit, and I think Mesprit is, for an NU pick, it's just very good. Mainly because look at its base stats. Like, it's actually, like, for its base stats are very solid, especially when you consider it also has like a very good move pool, like tons of offensive options on both physical and special side, while also having more support options like Knockoff, Stealth Rock, and Healing Wish, and stuff like that. So it's very versatile. It's something that can be Scarfed, it can be Specs, or even like Banded. It can be Life Orb, it can be bulky, it can be Assault Vest. Like, you can do a ton of things in Mesprit, and also having Levitate was very helpful because I don't really have a ground weak team, but really the only switch I had to ground type attacks at this point was Tangrowth, because it resisted it. So it was good to have another good solid switch into ground type attacks. But overall, I figured Mesprit was going to be a very solid pick. Just looking at its base stats and its move pool, it's for an NU pick, it's actually very good. It also has U-turn, and I did want some full turn action if I could, because full turn is very effective against breaking like bulkier teams and also keeping like more balanced teams on their toes. So I figured, yeah, Mesprit was going to be just a very solid pick. And it's the type of pick where I can actually see it coming, not just once or twice, but like maybe even being a staple on my teams, because I think it is very versatile and you can do a lot with it. But for my next pick, I wanted a Flying Resist. I didn't have one on my team yet, and I wanted like another Stealth Rock Pokemon, because at this point it was just Mesprit and Nidoqueen. So I went for Regirock. One of my original picks I wanted was Rhydon, but that was taken. But I think Regirock is fine also. It doesn't need a Violite, so you can be more creative with the item. You can use Leftovers, you can use Rocky Helmet, even maybe a Assault Vest set. And it's got Stealth Rocks, it's very bulky, like base 200 defense is really good. And having that resistance to like flying and normal moves is going to be very helpful, because I didn't really have that on my team at this point. And yeah, like, it's going to be a solid wall. It doesn't have reliable recovery, but like I could use Resto Chesto if I wanted to. and like it doesn't have like it doesn't have reliable recovery, but it's just so bulky that it can take hits if it needs to, even on the special side, because the special bulk's alright. It has like support moves. Like I said, Stealth Rock was big, and also things like Thunder Wave. So Regirock, it's a pretty straightforward Pokemon, but what it does, which really should take physical hits, it's very effective at, especially because in my division, I'm in the same, there's the Philadelphia Flygunners, who have like a team with a ton of like flying spam sort of thing. So it was also going to be really helpful to have a flying resist on my team, and I think Regirock is going to actually be like a really good value pick, something that's very bulky, and that could be like a very solid tank for my team. So for my final two picks, I had one OU pick left as well as one NU pick. And for my NU pick, I wanted to get a fast electric type because I didn't have one at this point. They're very good in the league format because even if something checks a fast electric, you can full switch out unless it's a ground type. And the speed they offer as well as the power can be very, very helpful to have. And I wanted more Volt Turn action. I want something that can use Volt Switch because I've had a bunch of things like U-Turn at this point. And I went for Zebstrika because I think it's a very underrated pick. As far as fast electric types go, it's not something that a lot of people are going to be thinking of, but it is very fast. Base 116 means it actually does outspeed things like Raikou, Starmie, Serperior, and Mega Absol, which is very, very nice. Obviously, its offensive stats like base 80 special attack, it's not the best, it has base 100 attack, but its physical move pool isn't that great. But you do have things like Wild Charge and Double Edge, so you do have some options there. But having a fast electric type is better than not having one, in my opinion, just because they are very good in the league format, and I wanted some Volt Turn on my team. And I have a ton of experience using Zebstrika because it's been on basically every single one of my PU hyper offense teams, and I've played like a lot of PU and a lot of hyper offense teams. Like I've used one that got me up to like number 13 on the ladder. I forget exactly what it was back when I played a lot of PU, and like it was just so solid because it's very straightforward. It doesn't have the best move pool, but what it does very, very well, which is basically just stop water types, electric types, and if something deals with it, you can full switch out and keep momentum on your side of the field. And that was my NU pick. So my final pick overall was my OU pick, my third OU pick. And at this point, a lot of good OU picks had been taken. There were a couple of good ones still left around at the very end, but I didn't want a monotonous type coverage. Like, I guess Talonflame would have been an option, but I didn't want to have like, it would have also been a mascot pick, but I didn't. I already had Victini as a OU fire type, and I didn't want to have Talonflame with the liability of having to have that hazard control. I wanted a steel type, and I wanted more U-turn action if I could, and I also wanted some more hazard removal action. So I went for Caesar, regular Caesar, and I think it's actually like pretty solid in the league format. It's got a very, very good move pool, especially when you consider Technician as an option. Like you have Bullet Punch, you have U-turn, Bug Bite, Swords Dance, Agility, Baton Pass. You actually have a ton of options this Caesar, especially because it's not the makeup form, so you can use Life Orb, you can use Choice Bands, Scarves, you can use like a Plate, you can use like a Berry or a Salt Vest. It can be a Pursuit Trapper, it has Defog, as I mentioned. Like it's a very solid Pokemon that it was on my mind when drafting because it's not like the bulkiest steel type. It's more like Lucario, where it's like an offensive version of a steel type, but it still does have a decent amount of bulk to it. As I said, it can be physically defensive, it does have reliable recovery, it can be a hazard remover, and it does have like the Assault Vest set, which I've used before, which is pretty solid. And I think in OU, like the actual OU tier, it's not as many people use it. They will generally use the Mega Form, but I think its versatility in the league format is actually pretty solid, especially when you consider Technician. Like I've seen people use it and use it really well. I'm really excited to use it. I was able to actually get a steel type, so I wasn't able to fully build a steel Fairy Dragon steel core because I didn't get a dragon. But having Caesar, especially paired with Florges, is like pretty cool core, and I think Caesar is going to be very solid for my team. So overall, looking at my draft, I'm really happy with it. I think I did a pretty solid job, especially considering with 16 teams, like a lot more. There are going to be way more picks. There are way more opportunities for snipes to happen, and things are way more competitive. And I think everyone drafted really well. So to get a team where I think is pretty solid, I'm really happy with it. I feel like I've got a pretty solid mix overall of like speed, power, and bulk. Like I have a ton of U-turns with like Zebstrika and Caesar, Mesprit, Victini. I have a lot of Volt Turn action. I've got good speed with Mega Lopunny and Zebstrika, while also having a ton of priority with Mega Lopunny, with Caesar, with Hitmontop. So I've got both speed and priority. For bulk, I've got like Florges, Tangrowth, Regirock, Milotic, things like Nidoqueen, Hitmontop, Scizor, and Mesprit. They can all go bulky if they need to, while they can also all be offensive, so they're versatile in that regard. I have like pretty solid Wall Breaker in Victini because its choice banded set and can be very, very powerful, and also Nidoqueen could be a very powerful special Wall Breaker. So I feel like looking at my team, I've got a bit of everything. I've got solid Wall Core, I've got hazard options, and also hazard removal options. I've got like pretty good type coverage, no real role overlap, and I've got clerics. I've got basically a bit of everything, so I think I drafted really well. Especially, as I said, it's very competitive this season with so many more teams and everyone drafting really well. Like, I don't think anyone drafted badly, and I think it's gonna be very, very competitive this season. It's been getting more competitive every season. Like season 1, it was very tough. Then season 2, the level was raised, and season 3, the level was raised. Just like again, like there's so many good teams. So I'm really excited for this season. My team, I think I can do good with it. The first couple of weeks are always tend to be the most fun because you're starting to get used to your team. And for the past 2 seasons, like the last couple of weeks, it's like that's when the interest for me, I guess, kind of dies off after I've been using the same team for a bit. But I think with this team, I'm gonna enjoy using it. There's some picks that I've used before, which I think I'm gonna enjoy using again. While also having some things that I haven't used before, so it's gonna be exciting trying to use these new things. And ideally, if I can sort of keep my focus for the whole season and play well, I can ideally get into the playoffs again, maybe even win. It would be awesome to win playoffs for once. I've currently never won a playoffs game. I've gone to the playoffs twice in a row, twice with 8-2 record, and I've never won a playoff game. So it would be awesome if I can maybe make a push for the championship this season. And but I'm just gonna try my best regardless. My first game will be up against the Atlanta Breviaries, who I've been facing in season 1. So that'll be a fun game. And if you watched the whole draft analysis video, guys, thanks for watching. As I mentioned at the beginning of the video, the Showdown Battle League channel will be doing videos for each team individually, where we're going to be breaking down each team, giving them rankings, and it's going to be really, really awesome. We're going to also be doing weekly recap videos and stuff like that throughout the season if we can, and keeping that channel alive and doing well. So thanks for watching, guys, and see you in Season 3.